Hey there YouTube, my name's Greg Gallup and I'm about to do a gas-fired Chiminea project. I spent about a year looking on YouTube and other sources and didn't seem to find anything that even remotely came close. So I'm sure it's been done, I'm sure somebody knows how to, but I haven't seen it documented. So I thought, well, let's do a video. I've learned an awful lot from YouTube, so time I gave back. Here's the project.
I've got a little water in the bottom of the chiminea here, and it's going to soak in and soften that terracotta pottery up a little bit, and then when I start using the core, it's going to work to keep the blade cool and keep everything lubricated and slowly going through. So we'll let that sit for a little bit. Alright, here is the core saw we're going to use, and I'm just going to slide that over. This is our yellow Teflon tape for gas pipe, black pipe. This is a I believe it's an 8-inch piece of black pipe. There's a 4-inch piece of black pipe, and then of course my elbow. And while we're waiting on the water to soak into the chiminea, I'm going to do a little pre-assembly here. So hang with me and I'll show you the final product of the pipe assembly, that is. Alrighty, here we go. So that's kind of the final assembled L bracket. I ended up having to use two pipe wrenches. You can see I'm a rigid man, probably because they make some of the finest calendars on earth. Anyway, make sure you put your tape on in the right direction so that as you screw your assembly together, you're not going against the wrap of your tape. And I'm sure there are people that can do a much better, purtier job than this. But since gas is going through, I wanted to make sure I had ample sealing, and there's not going to be anything showing. It's going to fit up under the chiminea, so this will be pretty much hidden from view unless you're really nosy and you start poking around. So that's the assembly there. Then we're going to go on to put on the valve and then the flexible tube. And here we are with the valve assembled and on the overall pipe. In this type of valve, you'll see that when the valve is open, the handle points in the direction the gas will flow, and then when you close it, it essentially blocks that gas flow. And I don't know if you can see down into the tube, that little ball valve opening up and then closing. So, and that's what restricts and controls the flow of gas through the pipe. It's also an added safety measure. Some places code requires you to have a T-handle key so dogs and kids can't accidentally knock this thing open and cause a fire. But since this is going to be on a propane setup and not a natural gas setup, I don't have to have that. I'll always turn it off at the tank as well. So this is more for control of the amount of fire I'm getting and not so much for the safety of shutting it off. I'm using the tank valve for that. I put it so that the handle points down, because when it goes up under the chiminea like so, I didn't want the handle to get in the way of the clay and rub against it. So with it hangs below it, I'll always be able to reach down and get to it. And if I decide at the end that I want to turn it so that it's upright, maybe it's closer, you know, then I could adjust it this way, then I'll be fine there as well. So that is the first part of the gas pipe assembly, and we'll move on to connecting the yellow flexible cable here, and I'll explain why I'm doing that when I'm done, because I think you'll see the brilliance behind it. So here we have the attached flexible gas hose, and the reason I'm putting this on here is because one, I didn't want to have my rubber barbecue hose regulator attached right here. You'll see it in the next step. And I wanted to allow for some flexibility of movement. If somebody bumps the chiminea, if one of the dogs runs by, or something like that, I didn't want to have all this heavy, hard black pipe banging against the terracotta pot and chipping the chiminea, because really the chiminea is the heart of what makes all this work. So this is put on here, and now I've got this vast, extensive hose that comes off of it, and what I need to do is coil it to kind of take up some of the slack and to give it some springiness. So I'm going to wrap it around this can and use this can as a mandrel to form the hose around to get a nice good coil on. I'd show you that on camera, but again, I'm a one-man crew today. I'm down a helper, so I'm gonna have to put the camera down to do this, and then I'll show you the final product. All right, so here we go. We've got the The coil on the end here is going to help this absorb any shock or motion, or if somebody knocks over the gas tank or something like that, without it transferring a lot of that force into the very rigid black pipe that you've got here. It'll keep it from doing any damage to the ball valve, and it also is a nice tidy way of making sure it looks neat and gets it up out of the way, so you don't have all this extra, gas tubing running all over the place. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. 1/2 inch pipe, 1/2 inch elbow, 1/2 inch pipe. We've got a 1/2 inch with a reducer valve here, and then it goes into I believe this may be 1/2 inch as well, so no reducer. And then this is what's going to hook us into the barbecue pit. And here it is. This piece was put onto this piece, was put onto this piece. We put this one on and shaped it. A series of adapters here, because we go from this to an adapter to this. And then here is the regulator that would go on your standard barbecue pit, because we're going to run your standard 5-gallon LP gas tank off of it. The gas goes through the regulator, goes all the way through here, hits the coil, hits the valve, and then comes up, and I'll show you the burner unit. I've yet to get it yet. I want to make sure I've got the hole cut right before I go in and buy anything else. You break the chimney in, you're done. So, but anyway, this will get the gas all the way into the chimney. You probably, if you wanted to, could cut out this section here, and that's about a $20 part. So you could trim your budget by 20 bucks by putting this directly straight into here. But the adapters that came with this, I was going to need to get this to here, and they cost about $5 or $6 anyway. So I thought for the extra 15 bucks at that point to put this on there, probably safe. So that's why we're where we are today. And as you can see, I've tightened everything down. We're using 2 wrenches, make sure where everything's good and snug, because you don't have any leaks. You got a lot of places. There's a potential for leaks in here, all the way through here. Really low potential in this area. Then you get a potential for leaks here, 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 here. Anywhere there's a joint, you can get a gas leak. So you want to make sure you seal that stuff up and you tighten it down pretty good. Alrighty, we got the 1-inch hole saw on the end of the bit here, on the end of the chuck. And the reason I'm using a 1-inch hole saw is because 1/2 inch black pipe is actually about 3/4 inch in diameter on the outside, and I want to have a little bit of slack so that it doesn't bind up on the terracotta. Did a little stop to check for progress, and my hole saw had cored out a part of the thickness of the chiminea, but hasn't gone all the way through yet. And here's how you know when you've reached the bottom. All of a sudden your terracotta water is going to start running out the hole. Now I haven't completely cored it all the way out, but I've made a half-moon cut probably or so on the bottom at this point, and it's all running out. This is the other reason you don't want to put just too terrible much water in to begin with. Just enough to cover the bottom, let it soak in, and then let your bit stay cool, because the more water you put in this thing to begin with, the more water you're going to have running out. And you can probably see the nice pretty hole we've got so far. Let me see what it looks like from the top. Yeah. So I'll finish coring this out and show you the final product. And there we are. So now we have a hole in the bottom of the chiminea. We're cored out, and there's the plug. You can see that fell through. This was the bottom of the hole, this was the top of the hole, and then there were little pieces that flaked out in between. But that's about how thick your chiminea pot's going to be. So just to plan for when you're running your gas pipe, how much of an offset you're going to need. Just in case you were curious, and again, sunlight is not my friend here, this is what the bottom of the chiminea is going to look like. These holes I did not make. That's part of the clay firing process, so that this doesn't build up pressure, because it is sealed off. It's like a separate leg of the pot, even though they've molded it together when they made it. But here, if I can find it on the lens, is the hole we just cored, and you can see it looks amazingly similar. So probably a good idea we use that size. There we are. We have changed locations. We've moved to the patio. I had a fair amount of water on the garage floor from where I set up. And if you look inside, you can see I now have the stem poking through the bottom. Coming gently around here. See, I've got my little yellow pigtail, and that valve turns out just in the right spot, so I'll probably rotate it another 90 degrees, 180 if I can get it, but I don't think I've got that much room on the threads. And then I've got the regulator attached. You saw that whole assembly before. You saw the hole get drilled, and now it is on the patio where it's going to go. We have a 12-inch fire ring and a 5-piece twig set, and I was going to go with a fire star, but the price seemed to jump around, so I was going to give a big shout out to my local fire department store, what do you call it, fireplace store. But prices we got quoted the other day didn't seem to match up when we went in to actually buy, so I'm a little disgruntled at this point. Anyway, we're still going to make this work. And here is a prime example of why you measure twice, cut once. I have an 11.5-inch opening to get a 12-inch fire ring through, and it's not going to work. So the next size down is 6 inches, and I'm afraid that's going to be, it'll definitely fit, but it's going to be small. So stay tuned. We'll be back from the fire store in a moment. Alright, here we are. We've got a 6-inch ring installed in the Chiminea. It looks kind of tiny, but that's the only size they make that'll fit, so we'll give it a shot. And here we are with the logs loaded inside. This is a 5-twig kit, and it's pretty big. I don't know if you can see all the way down in there, but one of the twigs pokes up in the chimney. And now we're going to light it. Hey, looky there. Alright, I'm a few days after the original build. We're now all the way into 2015. I've got a roaring fire in the Chiminea. We actually burned it Christmas Day for my wife, but I didn't want to interrupt the Christmas festivities with the making of a Chiminea video. So here we are. Everything looks good, natural, normal, realistic. And see if I can do this without shaking the camera too much. Pull back a little bit. You can see in here, right there, so my finger's dirty, there's a little bit of the propane set up poking around the side, but from this angle nobody notices. And we'll come in here. There's my little pigtail coming out the bottom with the valve on it right there. That absorbs any shock if the propane tank gets knocked over. There's our standard barbecue pit regulator and LP gas bottle. It does consume a considerable amount of gas. I've been surprised. I had a little bit of a bottle left. It ate that up pretty quick Christmas Day. It's the other reason I haven't done another video. Haven't had any gas. We'll see how long this one takes. I'll go ahead and see if I can show you the bottom here. All the way down here, you get a good view of the gas lines coming in. And I think you can see the ring in there. But that is my gas-powered Chiminea. Puts out a good amount of heat straight up the flume. Doesn't really radiate a lot until it's been going for a while. But then again, it's a Chiminea, so what do you want? That's it. I hope you do one. I hope you enjoy it. Total cost for mine, I don't remember, but you can price it out yourself at the Home Depot. The black pipe, the circle burner, 6-inch circle, and then the regulator and the pigtail. Good luck and happy Chiminea-ing.